Hello and welcome. Here we are again. Tuesday, 10 a.m. on Mountain Time. Marianne and I have a really interesting conversation planned for
Mm.
today based on the conversation that we had yesterday, which went actually way longer than our normal. But you may find out why it took so much longer. So when we started out realizing, yes, this is the last week of 2021, and the two of us have been looking at what are we going to do next year on an individual basis. And there is some overlap in certain areas. And then we continue to explore further and really came up with the theme creating future because both of us have been looking at what do we want to do next year and what will be a contribution to not just people we have contact with but also to ourselves
Mm.
because we're not here to serve everybody. It's we are part of the group of people that is being served. And that is a slightly different aspect than often people have. So, what is going on? What do we want to do? What is a contribution? And then when we continue to look at that, we backtracked to a few weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, or whensoever when we talked about gifting and receiving and the payment, and I really want to put it in quotation marks, modality that we had come across, and we are utterly fascinated. So we looked at how can we bring things together and work on a gifting that people gift us so we can gift them as well as gift others. And it really, the beauty for us is this continuous flow that people who are listening to the conversation that are working with us uh, gift us, and then we can pass on that gift to another organization or somewhere. So I really would like Marianne to continue and share the idea that we came up with for next year.
Thank you, Karina. And yes, it is a subject that makes me really happy and singing, as it was clear during the conversation we had yesterday also that gifting and receiving, and it was also about, yeah, future and how it looks now in the world, as it looks like that everything as we know as money, and yeah, in whatever way money is involved in our life, that it is really wonky and we not truly know which way it is going. And from there, tapping into the energy of what is money truly? What is this? Is this perhaps something now that wants to flow as it was meant to be, as part of nature also, because that's what we often do, is checking in with nature. How does nature go with those energy? And nature is an energy of gifting and receiving, contributing, and it is an ongoing flow. And there it came, that energy of gifting, receiving, as it is due to money as we know it. It is the coin and the paper, and it has nothing to see with it. It is really some we want to explore as future, creating future with that flow, and not only for ourselves, but an ongoing flow as what we, you, I, are willing to contribute to the world
Mm-hmm.
is what we gift. But by gifting that, we also receive immediately from nature. So when people gift monetary as whatever they want to gift, they do not gift in receiving or getting facilitation or service or whatever. It is really gifting as from receiving for themselves also, and at the same time it is flowing towards something
Yeah.
or someone else. And that flow ongoing, as we came up with that idea, why not that what we receive from the gift others gifting us, we pass it by and we transform it in a gift again to some organization that transforms it again in some other gift for someone else or the earth, so that it is an ongoing gifting, receiving, and tapping in that energy that makes me so happy, as it is wealth, as it is
Yeah.
prosperous. And at the same time, and that is something for me, I'm not sure how you go with it, but for me, playing and tapping into these energies, it opened up so much more for me, and really coming out of the need from needy, knowing that we require money to pay our food, clothes, whatever, the bills. But when we are willing to be the flow, as in gifting and receiving ongoing, then there is trust and knowing that nature, the universe, will provide whatever I require and everyone requires
Yeah.
to create life. And it, I can't explain it, Karina, how it really works, but it is an awareness, it is a knowing, it is a trust. How is that for you? That, yeah, where we are tapping in now as we want to explore it.
Um, there, what I have been sitting with ever since we came across this whole gifting and receiving idea is, how often, and especially with like creating events, creating workshops for next year, uh, I have a choice to come from a scarcity
Yeah.
energy or an abundance energy. And I I really became keenly aware of how much am I coming from scarcity when I say, what price can I put on that product that will make people, is low enough that people will buy it,
Mm.
and that is low enough, if you really feel into that energy, is me contracting, me making myself small, not being willing to express the
Mm.
abundance that could be 2, 3, 4, 5 times that price that I will be setting. Or I can empower the quote unquote buyer to say, oh, this is how much it is worth to me. This is what it contributes to me. And maybe over time, I even realized that this contributed way more to me than what I paid. And maybe there is another donation.
Yeah.
It's really a coming from an energy of abundance and empowerment.
Do you
And
know
that
what I
is
catch? Sorry
possible.
that I interrupt you, but there was an energy that catches me when you said it, coming from scarcity, that it contracted you and being small. But what I catched also on the other side was how much with that energy, choosing that energy, is it also confirming the buyer that it is or as little worthy, and that the buyer itself does not have the space, the greatness, or whatever. It is
Yes.
working on both sides.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you, but it was really something that took my breath, like, whoa, but that is also contributing to the smallness of
Smallness
the
all
receiver.
around.
Yeah.
To smallness all
Wow.
around versus
Oh.
empowering the quote unquote buyer to make the choice of the price. How much do they want to gift? Uh, that that to me is part of the prosperity and abundance.
And what, Karina, if it is a step before that? What if it's not about what is and the buyer, quote unquote, because it's the contributor, it's not the buyer,
Mhm.
it's the contributor,
Okay.
is willing to receive. It's not what, because when we start as what am I willing to receive truly, then I have to contemplate for myself how worthy I find myself to receive whatever it is.
Yeah.
And that turned for me also something around as, yeah, you catch it everywhere in courses as you have to put a value on your product coming from valuing yourself, knowing the value of yourself. Now for me, it is like, I acknowledge the value of me. I acknowledge the contribution I am, and I don't require a number that presented this. It's freely contributing. Who wants to receive it? Here it is.
Yeah.
And it's the way around as when I go with it now, it's how much am I willing to receive? And then I don't have to pay. Then there is a contribution and an acknowledgement of what I receive. And that is completely different than buyer and seller to go with those two words. Yeah,
Yeah, they are not really fitting the space that we're coming from right now. They,
exactly. And as we speak to the future, is it an energy? Is a selling and buying energy some future energy? For me, it's like, it is really in the future, that energy of gifting and receiving.
gifting and receiving, or in a way, you could also talk about trading energies.
Yes,
Uh, so it's a totally different concept
it is.
than we currently we have this. I'm setting the price, and therefore, there is the setting the price and the buying, and setting the price except for stuff that contains material that has a certain exchange, anything above and beyond that, it really goes into how much am I willing to trust the universe, to trust nature, that there is this going around. And how often do we set prices where somebody is priced out of that? And in some arenas that may be okay, but if, at least the way I look at what I plan on offering, what I love to offer, and I know it's similar for you, where it is a contribution to the person's life, where it's a contribution to the earth.
Yeah.
How do you set a price?
Exactly. And the energy that I came clear on when you were speaking was setting a price is also, that's the value, and it drops in a way of speaking, it drops, it sits there. When there is an ongoing receiving, gifting and receiving, without doubt that what my value is, there is no price for the value I am. There is no price for the gift I am. I can choose to be it or not to be it.
Yeah.
Independently of that it is by it, as there is some more generative energy going through that gifting and receiving. There where there is setting a price is like nearly an endpoint.
Yeah.
You get it or leave it.
Yeah.
And as we are not needy to be paid for what we are worthy, but we acknowledge the gift we are, we be the gift we are, and we go with that flow, an ongoing flow, then where is the end point? It isn't. And it keeps me always present. It's not something that I can put there aside as that's the price and there it is. Who wants it? There you find it. I have to show up every time again when there is the gifting and receiving. It's yeah. When I choose to lay back, then everything stops and the flow stops. Then is it truly because of I stop the flow, and it's not because nobody wants to buy my product,
Quote
or
unquote, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
because I'm not a product.
Yeah. And, what you said in the beginning, that the whole financial system, the monetary system, is changing. I mean, just look in the news. There is constant talk about it. Oh yeah, this is going to happen, that is going to happen. It doesn't matter what exactly happens, but it is obvious that things are changing.
Yeah.
And where do we want to go? And, money, if we look at the history of money, money was created to make trade easy. That, I may not be able to use the chicken that you are offering me in exchange for what I'm offering you. So by making it something neutral, I can then go and get a sack of flour.
Yeah.
Just for the sake of it. And what if on some level we are going back by necessity to the trading with each other. And we'll see whatever form that may take and create, but the hunch that I am having, what I'm sensing, is that we are going back to a different form of trading in the future. And that future may be next year already. It may not be until 5 or 10 years down the road. And does it matter? Can we already decide to go in that direction?
Exactly. My sense is similar, that it will be appearing in a different way, that extension. But also another energy, and I wrote it down for not leaving the building before I came to that, was with pricing also and setting prices. How much do we exclude things? As I see in nature, there is an order that is generating, creating ongoing flow, but everything is inclusive. The little flower does not say, yeah, but you, big tree, you can't come into my life. When the flower doesn't require that big tree, it still is part of what it wants to receive.
Yeah.
And it not really is necessarily to exchange there with each other. So as where I'm coming from with my family, let me say the more poor side, I grew up with so many things that was defined as excluded. That's not for us. That's for whatever.
Yeah.
So I took on that, and I created on that. And I became clear about how much with those definitions and what I made true as I took on that truth, how much I excluded from myself. Because we are everything. We are an ongoing energy. And it is so much more easily set with setting prices and the value as it is going now in this reality. That's inclusive and that's exclusive. And when you want to go there, then you have to match this and this and this and this and this. So there are so many more definitions you require to fulfill before you can receive it, which in truth is not even receiving. There where you start from, how much am I willing to receive from myself, knowing that everything is available. And that has nothing to see with the number or the price.
And to put slightly different spin on what you just said is, how much do we conclude if something costs a certain amount of money, that I don't even need to look at it because it's outside of my
Exactly. Yeah.
ability to pay for it.
Yeah.
And we don't even look at the fact that we could see if we can do it as a partial payment and paid off over time. We don't even go there. So it's really interesting how much we narrow our lives down,
Exactly.
how much we become small versus being the fullness of who we are and really expressing that. And we can express that in so many different ways that don't necessarily have a big price tag attached to it. Like one thing that I became aware in the last few months is how much am I willing to luxuriate with things, like luxuriate in the sense of having a great moisturizing cream. Doesn't have to cost $100. It could be $10, $15, whatever the bottle costs. But having that luxuriating, and I specifically chose the word that word came, but what it denoted to me was also that I am taking the time. I am gifting my body that thing. There is so much more in it versus what I grew up with is this, oh, quick, 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 I'm done. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, you wax the car and that's it. So,
Oh yes, but there are so many more examples of where we exclude ourselves, where we are not present, where we
yeah.
flush over things, and that's not receiving. So
And
when
then,
we are not receiving, we are not gifting.
and how much is that receiving slash gifting, creating my future? If I'm
Absolutely.
willing to receive and gift right now, there is a good likelihood that I will continue to do that, because I wouldn't do it if I wouldn't trust the universe, if I wouldn't trust consciousness, if I wouldn't trust you fill in the blank. But if I go from a pragmatic, and you fully know that I'm not objecting to pragmatics, because in some areas one needs to be pragmatic. But if I'm coming from a maybe not pragmatic, but utilitarian space,
Yeah.
how much am I diminishing, contracting my future?
Yeah. And something pops now to point out or to expand on it also a little is, what is the difference between donating and gifting and receiving? As you have going with donation, how much is donation also for us now in this reality connected to poorness, to scarcity,
Mhm.
to whatever, as in terms of negative, as not responsible or whatever? It is pointed out as not being powerful, that you require a donation to go on. And it's not that energy we speak to, because how with donation is it also I give you, not gifting, but I give you something, take it and leave me alone and let go. So there is not really a presence with the flow of what it does.
Mhm.
And it is separated, as where we go with, yeah, we can call it still donation, and it is completely something different, as it requires to be present. As when you start of, what am I willing to receive, what am I worth for myself, and in congruency with what is available monetary at that time for you. So let me say you have only $100 in your account and still have to pay the bill of electricity, of the water, or whatever. So being present with everything, then it can be that, yes, I trust this is in this moment congruent with what I am willing to receive. I'm gonna give $20, which is towards that $100, 1/5 part of the $100, which is a big amount, an amount. But when it is really in congruency with what your body tells, what your knowing tells, what your willingness tells, what your openness
Mhm.
tells about the receiving, and then that trust that there will be everything available that is required for you to expand your life, not only to survive, but to expand your life due to what you were willing to receive and gifting in congruency. Does it make sense what I'm saying?
It does make sense because basically you are implying, am I willing to come from abundance or am I looking at the whole thing from scarcity?
Exactly.
And so, if at least my personal way of looking is, if I come from abundance, then the abundance of the universe will contribute to my being and provide what I require. If I come from scarcity, there really isn't much else
Yeah.
or any other place to go. And I will always have scarcity.
Yeah, and for example, to stay with this, when you are coming from scarcity, and then there is not an allowance that your neighbor or your friend comes knocking on your door and bringing you a pie for dinner or whatever,
Yeah.
because the scarcity leads us also to do it all by ourselves, and going with that fixed point of view that it is only me that needs that money to pay that bill or to buy the food or whatever it is. It's the scarcity leads us in a really small, it's not even a space, it is a place, a real small box where there is not much flow
Yeah.
possible. So yeah. Yeah.
And since I promised or hinted at that we are changing things up a little bit, I would like to take a moment to talk about that. And with playing with all of that, what we talked about yesterday in an energetic way, what came to us is how can we create more for the earth? And what came then being in that space of abundance in the connection with the earth and who is abundant. The earth doesn't know lack. Uh, so what we came is to continue with our Tuesday Facebook Live and add a deep dive, a deeper exploration, a wider exploration, a more spacious exploration to the subject by offering a question and answer session on that way that will basically have accept a donation.
And that will be in private. That's not a public place where we
Exactly.
go with that. Yes.
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 And that people who register for that will get the audio download and even make it available to purchase afterwards. people may not be able to be available during that time, or may even totally miss it, but they say, oh, I'm interested in that conversation. And so we will make it available on the same basis afterwards. So I hope that this is something that sparks some interest. It'll be 2 days later. So you can be present with the Facebook Live and then say, oh, I'm interested to go more in depth, to have more of a conversation, and register and then participate. You'll get a webinar link as a result.
Can I add something
Oh,
to
sure,
it?
please.
Yes. As we will go on with the Facebook Lives, we will shorten that up a little. And then, because perhaps it's not really clear still, that there is a possibility to go with that gifting and receiving, that we expand on the theme of the Facebook Live. And then you can dive in as more from a personal aspect, also as really that receiving, as we tend to may have the Facebook Lives more in general, as in general, let's say. And the deep dives is really like, do you want to explore it more? Is it a topic in your own reality? How we can present energies that lightens up your world to go with that theme or whatever. Everything is possible. So there comes in that we want to explore also that future, creating the future, a future, an individual future and a world future and an earth future, as all in one. And that is based on that gifting and receiving. Yes.
Yeah. And a Facebook Live does not lend itself to having a personal conversation.
Exactly.
You know, it's fine to have a conversation about a subject. And yes, the two of us bring in, but it's not okay, or it doesn't seem to be okay. And I understand if people do not want to necessarily chime in on Facebook Live and be that vulnerable.
Yeah. And
So,
as I go with it also, it is really to encourage people to be more of themselves, to receive more due to every energy, due to every aspect of life. Because that is a right, a natural right, because you are already everything.
and that's just what I wanted to say is how much is life abundant to you without having necessarily $1 million or $1 billion in your bank account. That's just a energetic state of being that abundance. You know, like in the same way as I can choose to be happy, I can choose to be abundant no matter how much money I have in my bank account. And how much are we creating that, oh, geez, I don't know if I can do that. And I have been there and I catch myself sometimes going there. And then I have to, oops, wait, stop, shift.
It is, Karina. It is literally an exploration.
It truly is. It is. And it requires, I mean, how much have we talked about in the Facebook Lives about being in all kinds of different areas of life on autopilot?
Yeah.
And it is that being willing to get out of the autopilot, being willing to be present with who we are, what we think, how we act, and then go from there, you know.
Yeah.
And
Nothing
that
is
is what
defined.
is creating my tomorrows,
Exactly.
what is creating the future.
Yeah.
So where do we want to go next year? How do we want next year to be like? There are so many possibilities. There are so many individual possibilities. And there are so many group, global, possibilities. So where do we want to go? And invitation, join us. We won't start until the 13th. We need, the two of us need some
The,
time to work for it. We
the
can do
pragmatic
it
side.
all year. It's, magic wand. Ta-da.
Yeah.
That's where being pragmatic kicks in.
And how abundant can we be with all this technical stuff to set up everything? So yes, we ask for it. We choose it.
So where will we see? We'll see you definitely next week. The Facebook
Yes.
Live will continue, and we'll add on the second Thursday, we will add the expanded version, and we'll see where that takes us.
Exactly.
So
Let's have fun.
let's have fun. And I wish everybody a happy, happy New Year.
Me too.
Okay. Take